later on today, and it'll go out in commendation to Colonel Reichling. This has certainly been a complex mission here at the Birds Point, New Madrid Floodway. Blinding rain, 60-mile-an-hour winds, working through the night to operate this project, and they've done an excellent job and did exactly what we needed, was to reduce the gauges in around this area, and that's exactly what they were able to do. With that, I'd like Colonel Reichling to state a little bit of what he was able to do last night.
Yes, sir. Well, first off, I'd like to thank all of our partners. This was truly a team effort. At 0001 midnight this morning, we started loading barges. We loaded barges, and at 06 or 6 o'clock in the morning, we commenced with the pumping operations. And at 14 or 2:35 today, we successfully executed the second outflow crevasse, completing the Birds Point, New Madrid Floodway project. As you know, the team worked through incredible adversity, from weather to fatigue to building this team as we go. It was truly a heroic effort, and sheer determination paid off. One of the issues we had to work through was logistics. We actually, after the first two pieces of the project we executed, we actually ran out of blasting agent. We then went into an analysis mode and determined that we did have another source for that blasting agent. I'd just like to turn it over to Bart real quick for him to explain that agent.
Why don't you stand up to the mics?
Yes, we rapidly acquired an alternate blasting agent and got it delivered here to the site at the Birds Point Floodway. Our teams were able to effectively get that material in place, and just a few hours ago we were able to effectively activate the third crevasse of the New Madrid Floodway here. There was a very successful operation in very difficult conditions, and our team's now all recovered safely.
So once again, this was a very dynamic, a very complex operation, but it's not over. Memphis District and the Army Corps of Engineers, now our focus is squarely on the flood fighting. For us, it starts in Cairo, Illinois, and it goes all the way down to Helena, Arkansas. And I have over 300 people that are out in the field right now, your engineers, fighting floods. We're trying to protect Tiptonville over in Tennessee and a number of other small towns that are neighboring along this river. So our goal is to reduce the risk of flooding to the people that live behind our levees. Again, this was a team effort. It would not have been possible, and it would not have been successful without the support of the Missouri National Guard, Colonel Hagler and his team, from the state and local law enforcement agencies that stood beside us shoulder to shoulder during all this adverse weather, and many others that I can't name here. They really stepped up, and I really appreciate their support. Thank you.
Thank you, Vernie. And as we continue to work this flood, we're at the conclusion of this part of this phase of the operation at Birds Point, New Madrid, and we'll follow the flood downriver. But we will still have teams here continuing to work this particular project, and at the end of this effort, meaning when the flow passes through to the Gulf of Mexico, we'll be back and looking at it from engineering solutions to put things back the way they were. So the next item is high flows down in Crothersville. I was there this morning. It's going to be about a foot to 6 inches from the top of that flood wall. And so Colonel Reichling and his team have been working that flood wall very closely with the National Guard and the mayor of Crothersville, and we're working that piece as well. I just finished calling and talking with Governor Jindal and Governor Barber about opening up the next floodway, which is the Bonnie Carey spillway, and we'll be opening that perhaps as early as Monday. We operate that floodway, if we can go over here and look at this map, we operate that floodway when New Orleans gets to 1.2 250 million cubic feet per second. When that much water starts passing New Orleans, to keep New Orleans from flooding, we open up another spillway up here. Now, discussion is, what's a cubic foot per second, and people have a hard time understanding what that is. It's kind of like 1,250,000 basketballs for a cubic foot per second passing through past New Orleans. So when we see that happening, we'll open up the Bonnie Carey spillway, and we're going to open up the Bonnie Carey to the full amount of flows that we can, which will be 250,000 cubic feet per second. We're also going to be looking at, do we have to work the Morganza floodway and move the additional floods around, floodwaters around into the Atchafalaya. So that's the project as we continue going downriver. There's also, we're working with backwater flooding down in Vicksburg area. We've got some levees down there that are designed specifically low so that they'll overtop and the water will get stored in the area behind that levee. That's called backwater flooding. We're working that particular piece as well. As we pass this event, as I mentioned, through the Gulf of Mexico, we will send our engineers back and look at the entire system and make sure that our flood walls and levee systems behaved as designed and that there's no deformation or impacts to them, and we'll put a report together and we'll send that to hire of what kind of impacts were caused by this monumental and immense flooding. We've also will suggest that we put together another team to take a look at the entire system and give us their thoughts on, did this system act as designed, and how should we put it back exactly as is, or should we change it in some way to make it more efficient in the future. We're going to be heading to, my headquarters staff will be heading to Vicksburg tonight, and we'll be working with Colonel Reichling and working some of the floods down in his area. I would tell folks that this is not over. We're still in the middle of it. Make sure you stay close with your local police force and governments, and they'll give you advice on what to do from that area. As Colonel Reichling said, this has been a team effort from a lot of different folks, and I'd also like to add USGS. Your efforts during this time period has just been stellar. Some of the work that they've been able to do is put gauging at the inflow and the outflow of the floodway, and we're able to. They're able to put these gauges into the floodway, and that'll let us know how much head and how much depth are in these particular areas, and we'll know how much water came in and is coming out. And it's because of the work of the USGS we're able to get that accomplished. Again, what we're looking for is, this is a system. We're looking to see how it performed as a system, and we're looking to see how we can put it back as a systems approach. Again, this is the third largest watershed in the world. The third largest watershed in the world. We get water coming in from New York all the way up to from Idaho, coming into this area. All of it coming down. 41% of the United States puts water into this system. 31 states, and we're looking for a watershed approach on how we put things together. How do we put together, again, a quality of life that people are used to in this particular area. I'll end there and see if there's any questions.
General, I have a question. I was wondering if there's been an estimate about the cost of activating the floodway, if there's what the final figure is, or if that's been determined yet.
No, it hasn't been determined. As you saw, we just completed the third crevasse. We'll be taking that information in, as well as what we've got from USGS, and our teams will continue to be here doing analysis in the future.
Is there any ideas or any way to estimate how long the water will continue to flow through the floodway?
Not sure how long it's going to flow through the floodway. I do know that our estimates is that the crest, as it's flowing downriver, will probably be towards the end of May by the time the crest comes through. The crest is going to be going to have a long tail, so the crest will just get to the Gulf of Mexico towards the end of May, and the rest of that long tail will come in through the June time frame.
We were getting some calls into our newsroom, concerns of folks maybe in the Portersville area and around the river. Will there ever be a time here soon where river traffic is stalled? We still have a lot of barges moving up and down the rivers. Is that a concern?
We're working with the Coast Guard. Colonel Reichling certainly did that just before he would operate his project and stop navigation. There is some discussion with the Coast Guard, and they have issued an order, a low wake order, telling the folks that they should be using low wakes. And there'll be further discussions depending on what happens at Crothersville and how high that floodwater gets on the wall in regards to stopping traffic.
I had a question for Colonel Reichling. How much additional explosives did you end up needing for this operation today, and then what would that bring the total amount to?
Yes, we utilized approximately 100,000 pounds of additional explosive for this third event.
On top of what you initially thought you would need?
That's correct.
Was it the same components or the same explosive that you were using?
It was a very similar emulsified slurry material, pumpable like our earlier operation, so it was in line with the plan that we executed earlier, and the other two inflow and outflow crevasse activations. It was very, very reliable material, and our teams were able to effectively initiate the firing sequence for the activation.
Has there been any determination about why too much was used at Bird's Point up north? How that happened? Was it just a miscalculation, or how did that happen?
No, I don't think it was a miscalculation. We just went through more material than we had expected. This is the first time that we had executed in a full-scale production of executing with that material. In the past, we've only used a small portion to test it to make sure it was reliable every time. But this time, we were actually using and filling all of the crevasses, and it took time, and it took much more material than we had expected.
And that certainly added to the complexity of the mission. And even as we're trying to get the additional explosives, you needed to make sure that the new chemicals were going to react in a similar fashion as the old chemicals. And the scientists from the Engineer Research Development Center were able to jump right on that and procure the right materials.
My last question is just in regards to here. I mean, I know the concern right now is kind of in the Crothersville area, but what about here at New Madrid? Do you guys have any new information on what folks can maybe expect here?
Well, we're still here. One of the members of the Mississippi River Commission lives here in New Madrid, and he'll be staying up on all of the issues. There was certainly a report that came from R.D. James that there may have been some overtopping in a particular area, and Colonel Reichling had an aircraft up and looked at that right away. So we're not going anywhere. We'll be right here working with the folks.
Well, if I could add something.
Yeah.
Our major concern at this point is the water that's sitting behind the setback levee.
Okay.
And we're working very closely with the town of East Prairie and the local drainage districts right now to develop a solution to trying to relieve some of this pressure that this inundated water is coming. If you've driven over I-55 today, the St. John's Bayou is either coming over the river, over top of the highway, or just underneath it. That's all coming right here. And we are working closely with East Prairie to try to develop a solution to prevent any backwater flooding of that town. And that's our #1 priority in this area.
At this point?
That's correct.
What might a solution be? Is that still trying to be determined? Or?
Yes, sir. We're looking at it, and I have my hydrologists as well as my engineers studying this problem, and we're trying to turn it around quickly, and we're looking at some short-term solutions to effectively reduce that pool.
Had they ever finished the pumping station, do you think that would have helped?
Man, that pumping station would have definitely helped in terms of removing some of the backwater off of St. John's Bayou.
Other questions? Well, thank you for coming here at short notice. I appreciate that. Stay in the game. This is going to be a historic event. And I'd ask you to look at that general order that I signed just a little while ago. We'll get it on the net, commending Colonel Reichling and his multi-unit task force in getting this accomplished. Thank you all.